Hello, this is Ashley Morgan, joining you from the First Coast APA office. Kevin and I were sitting and talking about all the things that we needed to go over before the end of the session, and it just kind of made sense to try to put it all together in a live stream. So I'm going to try to keep this as quick as possible and stay on topic. But we are going to break these into different sections and post them over the next couple weeks for everybody to hopefully get the information. So feel free to ask any questions that come up in the comments. At the end, I'll see if I can search through and answer them here. If you ask the comment after this video has posted, then we'll try to get back to you in the comments. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, we want to talk about the wild card and playoffs. So yesterday was Monday night wild card, so a lot of teams already did the drawing. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you guys are going to have yours coming up. Basically, every team has a chance at the end of the session to continue on through the playoffs into the triennials. The wild card draw is weighted, which means the higher up your team was in the standings, the more cards your team is going to get, which increases your chances of winning that wild card. So, excuse me. The playoffs are going to be next week. So, if your team is either automatically in the playoffs due to being a second, third, fourth, depending on the size of your division, there's a breakdown in the bylaws. You guys are going to be playing at your normal location at your normal time. If you play in a travel location, the home location is based on the home team's. So if you were the second place team, you would be the home team. So the second place team home location is the location that the playoffs would play at. There are dues for playoffs. National office charges us the full amount regardless of how many matches are played. We know that sometimes a match can end early, so we try to meet you in the middle. If you only play 3 or 4 matches, then you only owe that $30 or $40. We'll cover the other 10 or 20 so that your team isn't paying for the matches that you didn't get a chance to play. The winners of the playoffs will advance onto the triennials, and the first place teams will get their plaques or tumblers at the triennials. The playoffs do follow your normal APA League Night rules. So there's no sudden death, there's no limitation on timeouts. The only thing that is different is the forfeit. There's maximum point forfeit points. In 8-ball, that's going to be 3-0, and 9-ball, that's going to be 20-0. There's no replay rule, and there's no makeup matches. The new pool year and eligibility. So just to kind of bring up a visual, I know this is kind of small, get in the middle here, but there's a larger image of this. You can actually go to our website and download it and just kind of zoom in, or you can pull it up on Facebook, but this still kind of gives you the general idea. So basically up here you have your session breakdown. So our pool year starts with summer session. Fall session is your middle session, and then spring session is the last session of the pool year. As you guys can see, we are at the end of our spring session, which means we're at the end of our pool year. As teams qualify, so you can kind of see the trickle down for, teams play their normal division, and then that roster plays that spring playoff. That same roster is going to play that spring triennial, and that same roster is going to play that second chance tournament. Now, the important thing to know is that your spring session roster is the one that plays in the World Qualifier. So regardless of your summer and fall roster, it's your spring roster that plays in the World Qualifier. Most teams know, but in case you don't, you need to maintain at least 4 players from your original qualifying session through the spring session for your team to maintain eligibility for that World Qualifier. We are currently at the change of the pool year. That means that there's a little bit of a difference this one time, and we don't want to confuse anybody, but we want to make sure everybody understands how and why it's different. So from summer to fall and fall to spring, you're all qualifying for the same pool year tournament. You maintain your 4 players. At the end of the spring session, your team has fulfilled its requirements. That team needs to maintain active status as far as national office is concerned through the spring session. Once you go to the summer session of our next pool year, which will be starting here in April, the team no longer needs to fill that 4 minimum player requirement, which means if a team does want to kind of divide up and kind of go their separate ways or maybe create multiple teams, this is the time to do it. As long as the players, individual players on that team are active in the same format, they will be eligible to play in the spring triennial, the spring second chance, and the world qualifier, and then on into Vegas if their team continues to win. If a player is not continuing to play at all, then they are not eligible to play in the spring triennial, the playoffs, the second chance, any. So, long story short, teams by themselves, we want them to continue playing together, but if they're not going to continue playing together, but the players are going to continue playing on different teams, that team is not affected. They get to continue on to the World Qualifier. I will also note that 8 ball is separate from 9 ball, which means if you're active in 8 ball and your team was qualified for 9 ball, you are not eligible. You do need to stay active. It's a different handicap system. Another thing to note is that Masters format does not count. Masters is not a handicapped race, so we don't have any scores coming in for you. So that's kind of the big difference from the new pool year transition opposed to the session to session transition. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that and you can make the best decisions going into this new session. If you are looking for a team, if you're looking to start a team, if you're looking to maybe become a captain, just give us a call, let us know. We're happy to, answer some questions. It's a lot of trial and error doing it, but we can at least give you, some guidelines. So eligibility, I know that we post this a lot, but just to say it one more time, for the World Qualifier, it's your spring session roster. Each player on that team needs to have played at least 4 matches on the team's spring roster, and they need at least 10 lifetime matches in that same format by the end of the spring triennial. So that does not mean your summer session matches are going to count towards. So if you have a player that has 9 lifetime matches and this is the last week of play, you definitely want to try to get their 10th match in. But the playoff match and the triennial match, even the second chance matches do count towards your spring session matches. So those would count towards your 10 lifetime. Moving on. Spent way too long on that one. Sorry. Okay, so end of year tournaments. We know these are new this year, so we just kind of want to touch base. We obviously have our World Qualifier and some of the other tournaments that you guys are used to, but we now have the best of the best and the champion of champions. So the best of the best is going to be your MVP winners and the players that were recognized as top dog or, sorry, top gun of their skill level tier each year. In the MVP tournament on the brackets, there's always this little logo that says that if you make it this far, you're qualified for the best of the best. The best of the best is an individual solo tournament. You play your normal 8 ball, 9 ball race. We break you into tier brackets, very similar to the MVP tournament. And the winners will get, it's the Bowl Carbon Q sticks. So that's where you can win that really nice carbon Q stick. We're also going to have some other little prizes and things like that as usual. The Champion of Champions, and that's going to be July 28th. Keep in mind, these are both one-day tournaments. The Champion of Champions is a team event. So this is where if your team has won triennials, 2 out of the 3 sessions in the pool year, or if they've won a triennial and gotten Big Dog, because Big Dog is a qualifying way, those teams are automatically sent to the Champion of Champions. Another way to qualify for the Champion of Champions is if your team gets knocked out of the World Qualifier on a one-loss situation. Many of you are familiar with our brackets. We run a modified single elimination tournament, which means you can lose or you're guaranteed to play twice, but you're not guaranteed to lose twice before you get knocked out. Once you get to usually the 3rd round of the winner's side of the bracket, it becomes a single elimination. So even though you haven't lost yet, your one loss could be your only loss and then you're out of the tournament. We know that that sucks, but it's part of the structure we have to use to keep things within the time that we have. So we are going to also advance those teams that get knocked out after one loss in the World Qualifier to the Champion of Champions. Champion of Champions is going to be the team captains format that'll allow us to combine the 8-ball and 9-ball teams. And there's a top prize of $2,000 to the team that wins that. So a little bit more information is kind of spelled out in the event. And as you get qualified, obviously you can call us and ask questions. But those are the dates. We'll be announcing the locations once we have those settled in. And we just want to make sure that teams do know it is important to try to win Triannual a second time if you can. It'll get you a special spot in the Champion of Champions. So the updates to our bylaws. Every 2 years, we're required to send in updated bylaws. We have a few things that are changing. Nothing major except for probably the big dog, which I'll be covering here in a little bit. But we have clarified a few things. The replays are all staying the same. Makeup matches are all staying the same. The way that we do their playoffs and things like that, that's all staying the same. We've specified a little bit more on patches. So your mini slam is if you get an 8 on the break and run, or a 9 on the break and run on the same night of play. But a grand slam is going to be if you accomplish all 4 of the accomplishments within a session, then you will be recognized with a grand slam. So that means that if you get 8 on the break the first week of play, break and run the third week of play, 9 on the snap, other weeks of play, but you do it in the same session, even on different teams, then you will receive a Grand Slam patch at the end of the session. So a couple other changes just in verbiage when it comes to our structure for monthly divisions now that we're adding those in, which we'll be covering that here in a minute also. We do want to just touch base on our division reps. So we have been, really kind of nurturing this program for the last few sessions. We feel like we're in a spot to really kind of add some responsibility and just kind of put a little bit more of a spotlight on our division reps. We want them to be somebody that you think of when you have a question. So as a player, it's natural for things to come up that you don't know the answer to. Sometimes it's a rule question in the game. Sometimes it's a situation regarding sportsmanship with another, player in the league. And sometimes it's, maybe an upcoming event that you heard about but you don't really know and you want more information. The first person you should go to is your team captain. Your team captain hopefully knows what's going on, but if they don't, your division rep would be somebody that you could also go to. They should be somebody that you see on a weekly basis, and if you are not at league night and you really need to reach them, you actually do have access to their phone number through your APA app. There's a little video tutorial that we did to show you, but if you want to know how to find that, just let us know. We can show you. And then third, obviously, we are here at the office to help with anything that you need. Our office hours are from noon until 8 p.m. We do have times of the year that we get super busy, and sometimes we get delayed on answering your questions. If it is something that is time sensitive, a lot of times we can notice that in the message and we'll stop what we're doing and get to it right away. But a lot of times the division rep or the team captain can answer those questions, and it really helps us out in the office so that we can kind of keep on track to getting things done and keeping tournaments scheduled and just everything updated for you. So we are going to be making some division rep shirts for them, so those will be a little bit unique. And then we are going to be asking our division reps to actually maybe host like a small captains meeting at the beginning of the new session so that the captains can get familiar with who their division reps are. So let's see, monthly schedules. So everybody's used to playing a weekly schedule. Our normal, you sign up for Monday night, you play every Monday night. That usually means that you're playing 4 times a month, with small exceptions where, a holiday or maybe a session ends, before the month is over. But the APA structure is set around that 4 times a month structure. Anytime that we change that, there's a few extra rules that we have to follow to make sure that those teams are eligible to compete for Vegas at the end of the year. We are going to be introducing these starting in April. We've had a few people ask some questions, but we wanted to just kind of touch base on, that is not the correct one. Okay, so Park Avenue is one location that we plan on doing a monthly calendar. Some options are going to be a destination Hawaii that's going to be playing towards the end of the month on a Saturday. We're hoping to get that started in April. We do need some, I think we have 2 teams registered. We need a couple more to be, we need at least 4 to get it started. Ideally, we want 6. The little 9 ball one starting in May, that's going to be a men's only 9 ball division that's going to play on the 9 foot tables at Park Avenue. So that's your standard 5 to 8 player team, 23 skill level limits, all that involved. Um, you'll play 2 matches each month, but you do have to play 10 months or 20 total matches for that team to be eligible for any type of Vegas or any qualifiers. So that's why you see it running over 10 months time frame. Um, the reason we have the men's only division on that Saturday is that it actually coincides with the ladies league schedule. The ladies league schedule plays on the second Saturday each month with exceptions for Vegas and holidays and things like that. We also are going to be starting some monthly destination divisions over at the Corner Pocket. So the Corner Pocket is going to have the Sunday options. So that's going to be your second Sunday for 8 ball Hawaii or the fourth Sunday for the 9 ball destination. The 9 ball destination is going to be for your cruise, your trip to Orlando, or possibly another local interleague tournament. And then, of course, your chance to go to Vegas, where your Hawaii is just for Hawaii or Vegas. So that kind of covers that. But yeah, so basically the monthly divisions, we really want teams to think about when they're building to make sure that you have the skill level movement to last throughout the year. If you hit halfway and you need to divide your team into 2, there are some ways we can do that for you, but players will still need to get their minimum matches on the new roster. So that you run into some issues with MVP stats and a bunch of other stuff when you do that. So we prefer not to split. We prefer to try to keep it as much as we can, the same team together. Also, on your normal weekly team, a player needs 4 matches to be eligible to play in any type of post-session play. In your monthly calendar schedules, players need 8 matches to be eligible to play. So that counts for ladies, masters, and destinations. It'll count for anything that runs over that 10-month calendar year. Okay, so Big Dog. A lot of people have recently, we started this Big Dog thing when we first came in, to First Coast. A lot of that was because we were kind of forced to take away the first place guaranteed spot because of the growth that we had. Um, we wanted to do something where if a team got and basically had a way to get a fast pass directly to the World Qualifier. We have been told by the national office that they are trying to limit the ways that teams can qualify for the World Qualifier. This means that we are not going to be able to legally qualify a team into the World Qualifier because they finish top of the stats for Big Dog. We know this is a disappointment and we are sorry. We do wish that we had known this before we started this program, but it is what it is. We understand what the national office is trying to do. So we are going to continue doing a Big Dog, but the Big Dog teams each session will now be automatically advanced to the Champion of Champions tournament, where they'll have the chance to win that $2,000 prize. We're going to add in some team t-shirts, and then the Big Dog standings, and this is already a rule. I'm not sure if everybody knows this, but whenever we're looking at buys, so let's say it's triannuals and we have 2 buys that we need to put on the bracket, we're going to look at the teams that were in the top 2 of the Big Dog standings, and those teams are going to get those buys. When it comes to the spring or to the World Qualifier, we look at the spring Big Dog, and that's how we usually kind of set the buys for any buys in a World Qualifier bracket. So it's always important to be at, top of the standings if you can in the Big Dog. But we do want to make everybody aware that our bylaws will be changing and the Big Dogs will no longer qualify a team directly into the World Qualifier. If you have questions on this or you'd like to know more, please give us a call. We're happy to talk it through with you. That's kind of the only I would say bad news that we have. Um, so on to Vegas. So I had the ladies' calendar up earlier because technically this is a monthly calendar, but this kind of leads into some Vegas changes that we wanted to make sure you guys kind of know about. It's not going to vastly affect anybody. It's really just an adjustment that we're making this year so that we are on time for the 2025 pool year. The ladies and the masters traditionally play in August. We have been told that in 2025, the ladies and the masters formats will be moving to the Pool Players Championship, which is the one that falls in usually late April, early May. So that's going to mean that we need to run our World Qualifier by the end of February. So for the Ladies League schedule, you'll notice that we have May, June, July, August is doubled up, and that's so that we can get 10 months of play or 20 matches done in the time frame we need so that we can run your Vegas qualifier in February. It will also make it where those ladies captains are still eligible for the team captains tournament. So if we shaved a month off, the ladies would no longer be eligible for that team captains tournament. Speaking of the team captains tournament, we do have a team captains tournament coming up at Solids and Stripes on April 6th. A lot of teams have already registered. We've already posted that list and we're in full preparation mode. We are going to be doing a second team captains tournament on June 9th. This has not been added to the official calendar yet. We are still choosing the host location, but we did want to go ahead and make you guys aware. June 9th is on a Sunday. We do know that some players cannot get off of work or have other life engagements during days of the weekend. So we do try to do a team captains on Saturday and a team captains on Sunday. This means that we will be sending out a second team captains team. So teams will have a chance to qualify here in a couple weeks. And then if you do not qualify out of that tournament, then you will have a second chance to qualify in June. The team captains plays in the World Pool Championship, which is in August, which is why we have a little bit of extra time. Lastly, for the Vegas 2024, in case you didn't know, last year we sent out 2 8-ball teams and 2 9-ball teams. This year, because of the growth that we've had, we are able to send out 3 8-ball teams, and we are very close to 9-ball. So if we can get just a little bit more growth in our 9-ball teams, then next year we're looking at hopefully sending out 3 and 3. So it's always nice to be able to send out more teams. It's easier for us to set up the brackets with less common players if we have more brackets. So it's a win-win for everybody. So real quick, I'm just going to come over and look at the comments and see. I didn't really see any questions pop up. Hello, everybody. Yeah, no, I don't really see many questions here. So again, we'll be breaking this. I know this was kind of long and I try not to get too detailed, but while we're here, I might as well tell you everything. So we will make sure to break this into smaller segments and post them for short viewing pleasure. And this recording will be uploaded to our YouTube channel and emailed out in a link to everybody. Feel free to share it with your teammates. And thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you as always for choosing to play in the First Coast APA. Have a great day.